Hello, I'm the 10-minute English teacher. Let's get you exam ready. You're here today to revise Power and Conflict Poetry for AQA GCSE English Literature Paper 2. And today we're thinking about the Emigree. So, the Emigree by Carol Rumens. It's a really powerful poem from the perspective of someone who's had to leave their home because of war. And the poem is about their memories of that home that they left as a child. They're thinking about that country and their positive memories of it, but they're conflicted by all of the thoughts of war and conflict that are associated with that place. So there's a sort of, she's torn between, or the speaker is torn between thinking about positive memories and the negative stories that have clouded her sort of relationship with that place. We're going to start by thinking about how you're going to structure a response. So if this is the named poem, the first thing you really need to do is talk about in a very short paragraph what your two poems are about. One of them, of course, is the named poem. You get that, it's in the paper. The other one's the one that you're going to choose from your memory. So knowing a few poems really well and knowing those quotes and knowing what you're going to say about them is really important. So this is how I'd start. The Emigree is a poem from a refugee's perspective. The speaker's left their home as a child and thinks about their memories of the place, but there are conflicting positive and negative feelings. One of the things that happens in this poem, you've got darkness and light as an opposition that reflects that confusion. So that's my opening. I've only got 2 sentences there that show that I know what the poem's about, and I'm linking it to the theme that will be named in the question. I need to do that for both poems. The next thing I'm going to do is talk about how the poem is structured. So my second paragraph is going to talk about the structure of each of the poems. That's definitely the best way to do it. You've got your nice introduction, then you talk about the structure of the poems. So this poem doesn't have a regular rhythm, which you could say is chosen by the poet to reflect the confusion felt by the speaker. They've got these conflicting thoughts, and that might be the reason why we don't get a regular rhythm in the poem. So the poem structure also helps to reflect the idea that this poem is the speaker's internal dialogue. Internal dialogue just means like your inner voice. You know, we don't speak in rhyme and in iambic pentameter or whatnot. So maybe the idea of the structure that's chosen reflects that idea and makes it a bit more personal, gives it that personal tone. Here's a reading of the poem. So this is the Emigree. There once was a country. I left it as a child, but my memory of it is sunlight clear, for it seems I never saw it in that November, which, I'm told, comes to the mildest city. The worst news I receive of it cannot break my original view, the bright filled paperweight. It may be at war, it may be sick with tyrants, but I am branded by an impression of sunlight. The white streets of that city, the graceful slopes grow even clearer as time rolls its tanks and the frontiers rise between us close like waves. That child's vocabulary I carried here like a hollow doll opens and spills a grammar. Soon I shall have every coloured molecule of it. It may by now be a lie, banned by the state, but I can't get it off my tongue. It tastes of sunlight. I have no passport. There's no way back at all, but my city comes to me in its own white plane. It lies down in front of me, docile as paper. I comb its hair and love its shining eyes. My city takes me dancing through the city of walls. They accuse me of absence. They circle me. They accuse me of being dark in their free city. My city hides behind me. They mutter death, and my shadow falls as evidence of sunlight. The Emigree by Carol Rumens. So, you might have, I think it's right to study the poem in a bit more detail and tease out some of those bigger ideas. But if we think about what we need to do for the exam, we only really need to analyse 3 or 4 quotes from the poem. You don't need to understand or analyse and have something to say about every single line, because that just isn't what you're asked to do in the exam. You've only got 45 minutes. So, as I said, your first paragraph, what are your 2 poems about? In simple terms. Your second paragraph, explain the structure in both of the poems and why those structures might have been chosen. And then we're getting into the analysis of the language. If you can compare the way they use language, even better. But these are my quotes that I would be walking in with. You can see those there on the screen. They're in yellow. Those are my quotes, and above them and below them are the analysis that you need to learn. So this is really the only flashcard you need. So top left, we've got, it may be at war, it may be sick with tyrants. So we've got personification there describing the home that the speaker left. It's like a living thing, and this is like emphasising the idea that she's got a real relationship with this place. It's a part of her, even though I say she is, we don't know who the gender of the speaker, but that you can have a relationship with the place that you've left, and the speaker has got this personal relationship with home. Then we've got top right, I'm branded with an impression of sunlight. Now, that verb branded in this metaphor is really interesting because if you think about being branded, it's permanent. It's something like people do to cattle. Farmers would say that, to show this is my cow, not your cow, to their next door neighbour, you would brand the cow, which used to be done with irons, and you'd put a mark on your cow and everyone would know that's my cow or that's my pig or whatnot. So the idea of branding is really clever because there's two things we can say here, and that's showing that you've got that, looking at alternative ways that we can interpret something. The idea of branding has got this idea of like ownership and something that's permanent, something that's forever, all that sort of idea is being explored here. But also, like, branding is something we associate with torture. It's something that in some places is done to victims of torture. So we've also got these ideas of this place being a really oppressive, terrible, unfair, cruel place, also being like creeping in here. And you got this sunlight. So this is a great line because you've got those conflicting positive and negative thoughts being brought together here. Like the idea of being branded, it's got some allusion, some hints at torture, but we've also got the idea of sunlight. And light and darkness is an opposition in this poem. It's and that reflects those positive and negative contrasting feelings about this place that the speaker's got. We got, I comb its hair and love its shining eyes. In this metaphor, the speaker sees the city she was born in like a child to be cared for. But you can also say it's quite naive. It's quite a infantile sort of way of looking at it, and it can about an infantile way of feeling about her home, the home of the speaker rather. I keep saying her just because it's Carol Rumens, but Carol Rumens, the speaker in the poem is not. So ultimately, you could say this is a bit naive, the idea that all of these really innocent thoughts, like positive thoughts about this place, are actually quite unrealistic, could be sort of being explored here. And the last bit of the poem, the last line, is my shadow falls as evidence of sunlight. And this is the stark reality, the idea of returning to that place and then being killed is explored here. And again, you've got that juxtaposition of darkness and light, which sort of permeates all her thoughts about this place. I'm going to leave you there with the assessment objectives, and feel free to have a look back over this. Make sure that you've got that flashcard, save that, you screenshot it or whatnot. And as well as that, watch this video again and make, write the references down. Keep these quotes and make your own notes on structure so that you've got those to hand, and make sure that you know these key references for the poem, and you will be well prepared. So thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep revising.